So I'm curious from your perspective, Dan, because you're doing the cold calling in the trade show industry. You're talking to, probably the same audience or similar audience to our audience here at Experience Builders. Uh, what are these conversations like? Can you give us some examples of these
It's,
calls, how it's
yeah.
going?
And what we do is we rent exhibits to companies that are at a show in either Vegas or Orlando. And doing what we do in this little slice of the industry statistically is 5 times more difficult than your average cold call. Because,
Wow.
as you can hear from talking to Chris, he knows his numbers. There's nothing that isn't measured in connect and sell world. And statistically, for what I've been doing for the past month and a half, it's 5 times harder. I get a meeting or an opportunity roughly about 1% of the time, about 100 conversations.
And by the way, I'm guessing, Dan, so knowing the trade show industry, particularly the amount of exhibit houses, portable and modular exhibit dealers, agencies that focus on the event space, they're all calling the CES show and the SHOT show in January. They're all getting the HIMSS show, Health Information Management Systems show, and the Global Pet Expo. And so I'm just thinking about that decision maker in charge of maybe it's chief marketing officer. You're getting 30, 40 companies wanting to talk to you about your upcoming show at the end of February in Orlando or in Miami or Atlanta or wherever it is. So is there not scar tissue built up? And that was one of my questions, Chris or Dan, I would ask you, are there, with cold calling, have you identified vertical markets that are just notoriously difficult to get through to people with? Or are there any, sort of Glengarry, verticals where you go, oh, that's a target-rich environment and our tech works really well for that?
Yeah, well, there's a few that are quite hard. Doctors are hard, surgeons especially, because when they're in the middle of a surgery, they'll rarely take a call.
Can't get them out, yeah.
Just say, moi. And put that knife down, nurse clamp. I got to take this call, right?
Well, if the patient's unconscious, they ought to be able to step away for a few minutes. Right?
That's right.
27 seconds. Not
27 seconds. All we're asking.
27 seconds.
But that's a case where you go to the Connect on Live Voice approach, and you form, these mini relationships with the front desk. I mean, everything's got its own sort of tactical surround. It's kind of like climbing mountains. I used to be an old mountain climber. There's the kind that are easy, there are kind that are hard, and then there's the kind that are hard but safe, and the kind that are easy but dangerous. All of that's true. All of those dimensions are there. The only way to find out is to do it. The only thing I've learned is everything everybody thinks intuitively about calling is wrong. That's all I know. Every single thing anybody's ever told me, so-and-sos don't answer. Like, CEOs never answer. Well, the number one title that's called successfully by folks using Connect and Sell is CEOs. Number 2 is CFOs, which are thought to never answer. And the highest money-making title is Chief Information Security Officers, who are notorious for never answering the phone. So I don't know. I just gave up and I just went to the science. I'm an old physicist myself, so I don't have enough sense to believe that I believe anything. It's just like, whatever it is, just throw it out the window. Spend 2 hours pushing the button. You'll know the answer. That's kind of it. It's a 2-hour process. And you can do a full-on market exploration. Say you got a market with 10,000 folks in it, right? And you're going, well, I want to know what's true in this market. Like, what message resonates? Why build a product until you have a message that resonates? That's crazy. Everybody builds a product first and then goes out and sells it. Well, that's wasteful. Get message market fit. Well, how long does that take? What's 100 conversations? If you got a market of 10,000. Well, 100 conversations with Connect and Sell. If you're all alone, you're one person, that's going to take you maybe 2-3 days. Now you've completely characterized your market. You're actually done. You can go raise money against that if you want. It's that's what my podcast is all about, actually, is how to avoid making a product unless you're absolutely sure that it's going to be accepted in the market.
Interesting.
That's really good.
Chris, what's the name of your podcast? I want to make Khalil put it in the show notes so people can check that out if they're interested.
Sure. It's called Market Dominance Guys. The name is a riff on the old car guys, from National Public Radio, Click and Clack, Epic Brothers.
Click and Clack.
I used to be a car mechanic, among very many other things in my life. And I have huge respect for those guys. And hey, MIT boys, what are you going to do, right? So it's an accidental podcast. It's an attempt to write a book. Like another guy, Corey Frank, my podcast co-host, wanted to drag a book out of it. And turned into a podcast, and here we are. So we've had it transcribed by one guy. He listened to the whole thing and transcribed it all and turned it into a set of operating manuals for his company.
Oh, I love that. That's really cool.